Let's get to issue 2, Fauci, the fiend.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, the rather anonymous bureaucrat from the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, went from nobody to a residual household name almost overnight. Perhaps it's something hypnotizing about the gravelly voice coupled with the never-ending vacillation between how bad the pandemic will be and how really bad the pandemic will be. Or maybe it was his lust for the spotlight. Regardless, at times during the past year, Fauci has achieved a nearly anti-Christical level of presence in the American and media psyche. Fauci started off, as you well know, pumping the brakes on how scared people should be about the coronavirus.
I don't think so. The American people should not be worried or frightened by this. It's a very, very low risk to the United States.
He wrote in the New England Journal of Medicine late February of 2020 comparing COVID to the flu, but then less than 2 weeks later declared to Congress that COVID is actually Captain Trips.
It is 10 times more lethal than the seasonal flu.
Then there were his comments on the masks in early March of 2020.
People should not be walking around with masks.
Later in the year, he announced that the science had changed.
Masks really do work.
There were his sweeping proclamations.
As a nation, we can't be doing the kinds of things we were doing a few months ago.
Followed by his assurances that he's really, guys, he's really humble.
But I am very careful and hopefully humble in knowing that I don't know everything about this disease. And that's why I'm very reserved in making broad predictions.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, High Priest of the Branch Covidian Church, fiend.
So, Todd, is Anthony Fauci a malevolent force, a total BSer, a narcissist who just can't get enough of all this attention, or a national treasure? Which is it?
Yes. He's all four, and he's a national treasure in that a lot of people think so. So the scale isn't necessarily objective, but he wouldn't have gotten to this point in the conversation unless people were making bobblehead dolls and singing songs about him, and Brad Pitt was playing for him. So on some level, that is true. It's deranged, but it's the world we live in. But which one drives all of this? Because I think the three of them ultimately are true, but they flow out of the other one. I think fundamentally he's a narcissist. I think, and that speaks to what, we live in the religion of me, myself, and I. So in that, he's not any different than the 15-year-old teenager.
Nobody's more humble than me.
Yes, who's on TikTok all the time. I mean, that's what he's doing. So
I freaking crush humility.
So yeah, then when you realize you've been made into a national treasure largely out of the gate because of you were standing next to the hated Donald Trump. It would have been interesting to see if he could have got away with all of the BS if he didn't have that foil in people's psychology, but he did. So that's why he knew he could get away with all the BSs. I have no idea if he's been this chronic his entire life, but also he's clear.
He's made me want to smoke some chronic. I'll tell you that.
I know. Okay. But fundamentally, he likes the happy love me instinct. You can see there's malevolence in him when Rand Paul pushes back on him, and then oh, how dare you? So it's all in there, but I think it all is fueled fundamentally by the narcissism.
Aaron, which do you think it is?
The answer is yes, but I largely would agree with Todd. Although I would say fundamentally, as far as the foundation of Anthony Fauci, why he began and then started this way, fundamentally, yes, narcissism is to blame. But I think over time, over the last year, it has actually changed, evolved, if you will, into malevolent BSer. I don't see...
To maintain the narcissism?
To maintain the narcissism, I've said this many times. I think the number one thing that elites are scared of is being embarrassed. You can't help if you've been wrong, just wrong, as many times as Anthony Fauci. If you want to avoid embarrassment, you can't help but have contempt for either the facts or the people propagating the facts about whatever it is, whatever issue you're monologuing about. I think it's changed into that. I think his ego has been bruised by the facts or by the reality of the situation enough times that he's just now, screw it. I'm right. I shall be like the most. I'm sorry. Boy, that just flowed right out way too easy.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're dealing with now. It started as pure narcissism, but I think malevolent BSer is really where we're at now.
Now, Jordan, on this issue, I saw yesterday on Twitter that you went like gangland justice on these guys. So don't hold back. That's the version of Jordan I want to hear. I mean, I want frothing at the mouth because you brought the pain on this yesterday.
Yeah, so I agree it's all the above. There's a podcast that's pretty good called Dr. Death, and the season 2 is all about this doctor who was falsely diagnosing people with cancer and then putting them on chemotherapy because in the end, spoiler alert, sorry, you find out this man's basically a crazy sociopath and he enjoys having control over his patients, and even they're suffering because they have to rely on him for guidance and advice. And this guy's killed a bunch of people and done all these horrible things. And that's basically where Anthony Fauci has evolved to in terms of his, psychopathic ego and the power that he gets, through all this compliance and through these TV appearances feeds this very poisonous ego. So yeah, he's basically the guy, who falsely diagnoses people with cancer, puts them on chemo, harms them, does horrible things to their lives. And as I talk about on social media quite a bit, just to remind people that last year was the best year of Fauci's life. And he's trying to replicate that experience. So he'll do anything he can to continue with the madness because he I think down in his core, he loves it. He's never been this relevant a person ever in his entire life, and he wants to, get that high again.
That was beautiful.
That wasn't bad. I agree. That was pretty good. So, Jordan, what's the path out of here for him, do you think? Because you can see in the last few weeks, the pushback has escalated. He's gotten pushback even from media sources that were carrying his water, elevating his brand much of the past year. Places like CNN, NBC News, for example. There's what happened yesterday with Rand Paul, where Rand has asked him some critical questions in the past, but yesterday just flat out cross-examined him. The pushback is growing. Now CDC is saying, well, we're going to get rid of the 6 feet of social distancing. We're going to recommend 3. It just feels like they're just retconning whatever narrative they can come up with in order to hold on to the relevancy that you talked about. But that is almost always the death throes of your relevancy when you begin doing something like that.
Yeah, Fauci's being exposed as a serial liar. He's like the, at the end of Chicken Little, they find out that, it was an acorn that fell on Chicken Little's head and that the sky wasn't falling. And, Chicken Little caused all of this chaos and damage to the community that otherwise would never have happened. And people will eventually find out. I think the right has already found out that Fauci, is a malevolent force. But the left, even the left will eventually, I think, come to that conclusion. And, people are really going to turn for him. So to protect him, we should at least prosecute him and put him in solitary confinement in prison for his, crimes against humanity.
I'm not even kidding about that. I agree with you.
Oh, no, I think he belongs in prison. I think he's one of the most.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Biggest fraud I've ever seen in my career, maybe in American history, but the amount of jobs lost, lives lost, because of his decisions, incalculable, in my view. Absolutely. I think he's a criminal of the state. I absolutely believe that. Todd, what's the way out here? Do you get the sense that his grip is slipping here?
Not as much as I'm hearing from you in the past, Steve and Jordan, but I'm happy to be wrong on this. I've just been conditioned now to. We disagree even on Cuomo. You think it's far more likely that he's gone?
Yes, I do think he's gone.
And I'm not. Your instincts on this, I hope, are the ones that are right. We're here a year into this, and Fauci shows zero signs of the humility he lies about. He doubles down on double masking. Now we're going to vaccinate 6-month-olds with this thing when it's scientifically utterly unnecessary. I'm getting used to bad things. I don't like it, but I'm getting used to it.
That's a line. I'm getting used to bad things. Yeah. Aaron, what do you think? Do you sense his grip is loosening?
Just to echo something that Jordan said, the right has woken up to this en masse. Although that didn't happen, but in full, but from very recently, like within the last month.
Yeah,
there are
the
elements.
vaccination, but still be a leper after you're vaccinated.
That was
killed
the tipping
him with
point.
the rest of the right.
I think most of the base of what's left of America was at that place a long time before some in conservative media were, but the whole right is there right now. And I think we're going to come to a time where the original instinct of the left, gosh, am I making the same mistake again? I have to think that the instinct of progressivism, I wanna, is going to kick in. Right now, it's I want to be ruled. At some point, it's going to be I want to go to the club. I want to go to a baseball game. I want to. That's not going to kick in, is it, guys?
Well,
I know
I
this
don't know.
is hard.
In the last couple of weeks, Disney announced Black Widow is going to maintain its release date. Yesterday, I can't remember which studio it was, announced that they were actually going to move up the release for the latest Fast and Furious film.
Disney also said you can't scream on roller coasters now. This is the level of insanity we're talking about.
But people want their lives back. That's what the school battle is about. And these blue state governors, go back to the conversation we had yesterday with Vivian Zayas about Andrew Cuomo. The reason why they have the sexual harassment allegations is because they can all pin those things directly on him to get rid of him for what he's the worst baggage against them for, which is what he did to the nursing home folks. But the problem is he didn't do that himself. He gave the order, but those orders had to be carried out. If we're going to get rid of Cuomo, you got to get rid of whole layers of the New York State public health bureaucracy along with them that carry those things out.
Federal, because you've connected the dots from Cuomo to Fauci.
So if you just nail Cuomo for sexual harassment, then you can just say he's a singular bad guy, but the rest of my crony buddies in the bureaucracy can all stay. Similarly, these blue state governors are going to need some rationale, some bad guy. Who did we all listen to? You get where I'm going with this, Jordan? When as more and more of the red states get more and more open, and more, yes, every branch Covidian is a Democrat, but not all Democrats are branch Covidians. So the rest of the Democrats that do want to get back, that want to go watch the Braves play in a full stadium on opening day, as they just announced, for example, the rest of those people, they're going to start clamoring like a lot of those Karens are to their blue state governors right now, reopen the damn schools. I'm sick of my kids. Someone's got to be the deflector beam here, or deflector shield. Where do I deflect my blame for why we're behind reopening our schools and everything else from Florida and the rest of these states? I need someone to blame. And it's got to be a singular figure so that no one else goes down with him or has to explain their actions. Seems to me the singular figure you blame, Jordan, is Anthony Fauci. He's 80. He's got a nice pension, nice life. No one cared who he was before this was over, before it happened. No one's going to care about him after it's over. He holds no elected office. If you're a blue state governor, you just put it all on him and say, hey, he's the reason we didn't open up sooner he's the reason your kids didn't go to school this entire year. You blame him. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's possible. You saw what they did with Deborah Birx, who was, Fauci was her mentor. They were very close. And then when they went after Birx for her little vacation mishap, she resigned immediately and then, cried her way out of public office. And I'm sure she's like doing something for $10 million a year for Bill Gates now. So you don't really have to feel bad for her. But with Fauci, I think, there are avenues for an opening there. It's just tough because right now, I think so much of the left is still, very much members of his cult. And in, New York City, DC, Chicago, LA, San Francisco, people revere Fauci as like this god. So I think that will take some time. But if you are a smart state governor and you're on the left and, you have a collapsing economy, you have to eventually get back open. The people are going to turn against you. So you need to find a villain for them.
I think of Democrat governors in places like Kansas, Kentucky, North Carolina. You need someone to deflect off of and blame on your predicament so it doesn't fall on you. You blame him. Because you know what? Most of the people in Kansas, North Carolina, and Kentucky don't like Anthony Fauci anyway, regardless of how they voted. Anyway, exit question. If the American people's opinion of Fauci in the next 6 months were a Huey Lewis and the News song. And Jordan is wondering, who the hell is that? Which Huey Lewis and the News song would it be? A, I Want a New Drug. B, Stuck With You. Or C, Walking on a Thin Line. Which do you think it is, Aaron?
You know, I'm feeling benevolent today. I'm going to say C.
Walking on a Thin Line. Todd?
B, Stuck With You.
Jordan?
I'll go with A just so you can, break the tie.
All right. Actually, you guys have 3, so you broke the tie. You did it. So there you go. I like it. You guys all chose the various answers we offered there. You know,